And then so that's closing up that loop. And now it comes down to the loop of what was I feeling? Yeah. So how do we feel? I would say that the big thing that a lot of people do is they get drunk. They self-medicate. They dive into their work. They become addicted to working out. They get addicted to their work. They get addicted to fucking. They get addicted to and anything that takes their focus away from silence. So if you remove yourself from all distractions, no phone, no Instagram, like no social media, and you just sit down and do absolutely nothing, feelings will start to arise. And then whatever it is that starts to come up, you can't deny it. Things will start to come up. Even boredom is an emotion, and boredom is a doorway into other emotions. So that's one way to start feeling, is stop doing things. Sit at home and just sit there and be bored as fuck. And then emotions will start to come up. That's one way. Another way is to allow yourself to go into situations where there's a bit of intensity. So if sex brings up certain emotions, okay, well, that's great. So what emotion is coming up? So it's also about just shifting your focus towards, instead of being stimulated, instead shift your focus towards what's happening in your body. Can you feel your legs on the floor? Can you feel your legs on the chair, your feet on the floor? Can you feel the temperature of the room?
Sounds a lot about being present.
Yeah, it's very much about present. Being present. So there's body sensations, and then there's also emotions. So those are the two things that you can pay attention to, what it is that you're feeling. So are you feeling an emotion or like an internal feeling? Or what body sensations are you feeling? So you can start off with body sensations because that's a lot easier. And then you can shift into the internal of like, okay, what emotions are coming up right now? And it's just about shifting the focus. If you try to force yourself to feel guilt or force yourself to feel sadness or any of these other emotions, then you're going to say, well, I can't feel these things. Well, no, you can. You're just trying to force something right now that's inauthentic. So instead, find what's authentic. Find what is true. Find what is already alive in you. And if you think of women, what emotion, what feeling happens in your body? Is it joy? Is it excitement? Or is it a little bit of resentment? Is it pride? Feel into those things. And that's an access to more feeling. And then you can start from there.
So one sits, and I totally agree with what you're saying when it comes to sitting at home and kind of feeling it all. There was a time back when I couldn't sit at home. I got to go out. I have to be around these people, that I need to be drinking this and doing that. And over the last 4.5, 5 years, very happy at home, and the feelings are fine. So what happens when we are at home and the feelings start to come up? And those are the real feelings. Like first we're trying to, we're trying to soothe those feelings with the drugs and the alcohol and the fucking and all that type of stuff. And now we're going to stop that. We're sitting at home. It's been about a week, and now those feelings are starting to show up. Can you talk a little bit about what those feelings might be, and maybe transitioning over to how do we deal with them?
Yeah, for sure. While I answer that, my throat's actually getting a little raspy. Could you do me a favor and give me a glass of water?
See, man, listen,
so
we're just starting. You know what?
Yeah, okay, great.
I'm going through the process of understanding how to do these podcasts.
Okay, great. So while you're doing that, so I can answer that. So, I would say, I think I'd like to answer that question with an example.
Please do. There you go.
Thank you. So this should be a lesson to anyone wanting to start a podcast. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah. You just have to show up to want to actually do one. That's it.
That's right.
And make sure you get chairs that are lower level than the table so they don't keep hitting it. All right. Okay. Here we go.
So I was struggling with anxiety, and there was this one time, there's a lot of different directions, so I'll just pick this direction. I was struggling with anxiety, and I was at a birthday party at Kitts Beach in Vancouver here. And I was feeling like all these thoughts like, oh God, people don't want me here. I suck. I'm a loser. People don't like me. Like, what am I doing here? I don't belong here. I'm not funny enough. People don't want to talk to me. And even though I was even in a conversation and I was telling myself, oh, she doesn't actually even want to talk to me. She's just being polite right now. But what was actually happening was anxiety was coming up. The thoughts were the symptom of the emotion. So the thoughts weren't actually driving, like the thoughts weren't real. What was coming up was the emotion was coming up, and the emotion was there, and then the thoughts would validate it. The thoughts would try to explain what was happening in the moment, which was the emotion. So luckily enough, I knew from previous practices that I knew what was just happening. I was like, okay, I'm just dealing with a lot of anxiety. So the party was done. It was like 6:00 in the afternoon. And then I go home and I just sat there. I sat down in front of a little Buddha that I got. And I just sat there and I just felt the anxiety. And it was absolutely brutal. I was literally just sitting there and I would like fall over with the pain. It was like, oh my God, it would like season my gut, man. It was brutal. I would just like literally season like, oh my God. And I would fall over. I'm like, oh God, oh Jesus, oh God, okay.
This is the pain of the anxiety.
This is the pain of the anxiety because I was just sitting with it and letting it be there as strong as possible. When a thought would come up of like, they don't like me, they're like, they think I'm a loser. It's like, oh, that's just the thought. That's just the thought. I'm just gonna bring the awareness to the feeling. Oh God, okay, what am I feeling? Because if I get too caught up with the thought, then that can take me down a train. It can take me down like a thought train that's going nowhere good, and it validates the emotion. So instead, I wanted to like, okay, that's just a thought. What's actually happening is what's going on in my body right now, which is the tightness, the seizing, and the pain of the anxiety. So that's what's happening. And then I hear another thought. It's like, okay, all right. And then bring it back to the feeling. It's like, oh my God, oh fuck, it really sucks. This is really hard. And that went on for about 45 minutes where I was just like feeling the anxiety, and it would kind of come in waves as well. It's like, oh, okay, I think I'm good. And then 2 minutes later, boom, it hits me again. Boom, wave of anxiety, and kind of like fall over a tiny bit. And it's like, oh, so shit. And I felt the anxiety. 45 minutes later, I kind of felt like this release of like, oh, holy shit. Well, that fucking sucked. Damn.
I remember my therapist saying to me once, he said, I need you to feel the feelings. Don't hide the feelings. Don't try to cover up the feelings. I need you to feel the feelings. And it sounds like to me right there, you actually felt the feeling.
Oh, yeah. Which is really, really hard to do because it's painful. It hurts. It sucks. I didn't want to sit there feeling my anxiety. I don't want to sit at home feeling my boredom. I don't want to sit down and journal because it brings up feelings, and like it's just like I don't necessarily want to do this.
But isn't that's the way out?
It's the only way out. The only way out is through.
Feel the feelings.
The only way out is through. Yep. So when I sat there and I felt the anxiety, and that moment was like, well, I feel better now. I mean, that really sucked, but I felt like $1,000,000. I had worked my way through it, and I have not felt that much anxiety since that point 3 years ago. Every now and again, actually, that's a lie. There was one time when I was going to a party during COVID. It's been a year since I'd been to a party. And
what's COVID?
Right? Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. Continue.
Man. So there was a house party that I was going to. I didn't know anybody there except for one person. I wasn't drinking at the time, and it was way out of the city. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to this party, and I was feeling kind of anxious. And I definitely had some anxiety come up. But here's the other thing. So even though I had a big spike of anxiety at that time, because I had developed such a good relationship to it when I sat with it before, I knew how to deal with it. And I knew that if I just let it be there, that it would eventually work its way out of me. And so I was no longer running my life. Even though I would feel it, I knew that, okay, if I'm there and I just start talking to one or two people, just get the conversational juices flowing, it's just naturally going to fade away. But before, I would have gotten taken in by the anxiety, and I would have let those thoughts run me, and which would have made the anxiety worse. But does this make sense what I'm saying?
It totally is, yeah.
Cool.
I'm just blown away by the strength And to feel the feelings, I'm still kind of not stuck on that, but to really feel the feelings, it takes strength to say, okay, I'm going to go through this. And even the concept of feeling the feelings, I didn't know that until 2016. I was into the whole kind of self-help thing, and it's using this and using that and using this and using that, and it's all that stuff was just to cover up the feelings. And when I actually got down to the feelings, whole life changed doing the work on that. And